All right, let me see if I can explain this in a way that you're going to understand it. Not that it's overly complicated, but I'm getting old and it's more difficult every day for me to follow a single train of thought. No, but true. Saw something today in the gym, which I've kind of briefly touched on before. Older guy, not really old, younger than me, probably mid 30s, maybe 40. And I've seen him in there before. He's in there getting, he's working, he's putting the work in, sweating, but like I said before, he's using too much weight and he's turning isolation movements into compound movements, and that's why he's not making any progress. That's why he doesn't look like shit for all the work. Then after he got done on the crossover, I saw him go over on a leg press, which I guess he's doing full body, or I don't know what he's doing, but that's his business. But I saw him load up the leg press with a whole bunch of weight and move it probably a couple of inches. And I just don't understand why people don't get what they're doing wrong and why they expect to benefit from that. But then I thought, well, maybe it's they fail to realize the importance of planning and strategy. And the reason that you need some strategy is because, moreover, the reason that a lot of guys don't realize they need to be more strategic in their workouts to make progress, especially from the beginning, is that in day-to-day life, you've been living in that body since you were born, and subconsciously, unconsciously, without you giving it any thought, your body knows how to react and respond. Consciously you may make the decisions to direct, your point of travel, your direction of travel. You may decide, well, I'm going to walk over here, I'm going to go up these steps, I'm going to go in the first door on the left, and I'm going to sit down in a chair. Okay, and then you just do it. Your body does all the rest of the work just on autopilot. You don't have to think about every muscle along the way, every contraction. You don't have to think about range of motion. You don't have to think about, do I need to tighten up my midsection and stabilize myself, or any of this kind of stuff. You don't have to think about any of this. It just happens. If you're walking somewhere outside on some rough terrain or whatever, and you slip, without a moment's thought, your body knows how to react and try and compensate and recover and save you from busting your ass. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you're on autopilot, and unconsciously your body can do all these things because it knows what to do just from experience and just time over and again of you functioning day-to-day life in that body. But when you go into the gym, okay, and you are attempting to change the appearance of your body through progressive resistance training, now you're breaking it down to a degree where your body has no idea what you're asking it to do. It has no idea. And if you operate on autopilot from the get without any thought, your body is going to collectively attempt to fulfill the demand. In other words, any machine you wedge yourself in, or any dumbbell or barbell you've got in your hands, or whatever you're trying to do, unconsciously, if the conscious mind isn't present, telling the body, controlling the body, overriding it, and deciding what muscles need to contract, and what posture I need to have, and what needs to be rigid, and where do I need to move, and what joints am I hinging off of, and what joints do I want to stabilize things and hold still? Maybe I don't want the shoulder swinging. I just want the bicep to bend, at the elbow, so the bicep pulls the weight up if you're curling, for instance, something like that. Just if you don't put that conscious thought in there, and you just rely on autopilot, and you just jump into a machine or whatever, and all you're doing is wedging yourself between an immovable object and a movable object, a potentially movable object. You're bound up against a pad, and you've got your feet up on something, your hands are on something, and you're just asking your body to push. And if that's all you're doing, then your body's gonna respond by trying to fulfill that request, but it's going to bring in everything it's got just to get the job done. It doesn't really know how else to do it, and that's not going to accomplish. It's not the most efficient and effective way, by any means, to get the look you're after, the result you're actually after, or to optimize your time in the gym. So it's a whole different story. When you get in there, you need to use strategy and planning, especially if you're just starting out. You need to understand what muscles are involved in the action you're trying to perform and what muscles do not need to be involved. For many reasons. Number one, it's going to greatly decrease the possibility of you injuring yourself. Number two, if you really give it that much thought and you're really limiting yourself to the muscles that you're trying to stimulate, and those are the only ones you want to bring in, that's kind of going to dictate the amount of weight you can use. So you really need to give it some thought. If you're mimicking, for instance, I don't know, if you drop something on the floor and you want to bend down and pick it up, are you going to bend down this far and pick it up? No. So why are you going to get in a leg press and just do this? Why? Where is that ever in your life going to be useful or natural or normal? Or do you expect you're going to grow from that? You're not. If you've got that much weight on there, that's all you're doing, you're not stimulating what you're trying to stimulate, what you think you're doing. You ain't doing jack shit. So you've got to plan it out ahead of time and use strategy. You need to tell the body. You need to be the driver in the seat. No autopilot, okay? And as you've been lifting a longer time, even me, you get in the gym and it's old hat. You've done it time and time again. It's easy to get caught up and go on autopilot now because you know what you're doing and everything else. But you know what? That can lead to injury too. And if you catch yourself doing it, just like I do, if I catch myself doing it, I stop and say, wait a minute, I try to get back on board and get my mind back into what I'm doing and not go on autopilot. Throw something different at the body so that you really need to get involved mentally, okay? And that way you're going to kind of trick the muscles and switch it up a little bit and continue to advance and progress. For instance, as you continue to build your physique. All right, now you'll see a lot of talk about, a lot of people are going to tell you, oh, you can't change the shape of a muscle. You can't, for instance, by doing incline presses, develop only upper chest. Or they'll tell you all these things, right? However, since this all began, people have been doing it and continue to do it. And you'll never hear a bodybuilder with any kind of physique and development tell you that you can't change the shape of a muscle. You'll never hear a bodybuilder tell you incline presses don't build your upper chest. So it's very funny. It's just all these know-it-alls that can't do it themselves for whatever reason. They're the ones who want to tell you what you can and cannot do. So, your mind needs to be in the game. You need to use strategy to build your physique. As far as changing the shape of that muscle, you need to figure out what shape means. What do you mean by shape? To me, in bodybuilding, shape is the overall silhouette. How things flow together proportionally over the whole package. So since muscles are made up of however many, series of heads, 2 heads, bicep, tricep, 3 heads, quadricep, 4 heads, pectoralis major, pectoralis minor, any place where a muscle runs beneath another muscle, a series of heads, if you develop the underlying head that you may not be able to visually see in a particular, angle, isn't that going to change the appearance of the muscle laying on top of that? Yeah, probably so. So, think about what you're doing, plan your workouts accordingly, and whatever you're trying to make yourself look like, whatever shape you're trying to achieve, whether it's something exaggerated more like me, or even more so, or much less so, or whatever you're trying to do, you need to use strategy and you need to have your head in the game and plan it out. And you need to stay in the game when you get in the gym. That means you can't be on the machine, texting, fucking around, playing with your fucking phone. You're not in the game, your mind's not there. Okay? At the end of the day, the people that are doing all this stuff, they're not changing. They're not changing. Especially when you first start out. More than ever, when you first get in there and start out, you gotta have your head in the game. So strategize. That's my secret muscle building tip for the day. All right? Strategize.